So today we are starting a new mini-series called Wordcount. Editing the content of the heart. We had a great series that we finished last week, how not to be your own worst enemy. Let me tell you one of the ways not to be your worst enemy, get connected in a group. I think there's a bit of advice to start the year. But following on from that, I wanted to build off of that foundation and talk about something that's just as important, or perhaps important specifically to how, what part of us can really destroy our future. And of course, words play a massive part of our lives. Words have a massive influence on our lives. And I want to spend the next week or so going through with you the whole area, the whole battle of words, and how we can get in control of what comes out of our mouth. And again, if you want to follow along with the notes, all the notes are in the Bible app. Get the Bible app, click more events, Lighthouse Church Dublin, and they'll all be there. And this is really, really important for us. We think about all of our relationships with our parents, with our teachers, with our coaches, with our friends. I mean, so much of what is our world are formed by our words. Guys, I have no monitor, please. And thank you. So next slide. Next slide, and it's going to appear any moment now. Boom. So today, the first message is called Spell Check. The 7 signs of a deadly tongue. What I want to do is I want to take you through a little bit of scripture and talk about the whole area of words, their tongue, and all that kind of stuff. And then at the end, I want to finish, turn the corner, shift some gears, and look at 7 particular signs that our tongue is being more deadly than it is being healthy or indeed helpful. Next slide, please. And so what we see is that, I don't know how you were raised, but the way I was raised, we used to have this saying as kids, right? I don't know about you. The saying was, sticks and stones will break my bones. But names will never hurt. Come on, is Patrick the only one? Yeah. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but names or words, some translations, will never hurt me. I don't know about you, but I have some funny stories about sticks and stones. The first time I ever heard the word concussion, first time I ever heard the word and experienced concussion, I was 7 years old. See, I grew up in a really cool part of the country. I grew up in a military base, which is a really exciting place to grow up if you were a young boy. My dad, who's actually here in the audience today, the congregation today, he was in the special forces, and he was and still is my hero. I love him very much. And so, all the boys, all these kids with soldiers to go out, we used to have these wars in the summer, like stick wars. We get pieces of galvanized, we get net, come on, you with me? We'd build these bases, right? And we'd get these small stones. There's rules in this war. There was rules of engagement. We'd throw these little pebbles at each other and hide behind these galvanized. If we got hit, it would sting, but it wouldn't get hurt. You wouldn't get hurt, you know what I'm saying? But unfortunately, what happened was one day we were in this war and we absolutely were trashing this other housing estate. We were embarrassing them. So one of the dudes did what all young dudes do when they're getting the bottom beat off them. He called his older brother. Now we're all 7 and 8. This guy must have been 16. He was practically a grown man. You know what I'm saying? He had facial hair, he had chest hair. Definitely against the rules in an 8-year-old's stone war. And so he decides to up the ante. He starts throwing bigger rocks, okay? And so we're cowering behind this galvanized. These walks like bang, bang, bang. And all of my team are cowering behind the front. And I'm like, come on, men! Be men of courage. I don't know what I said that. I said something like that. I said, let's go attack. So we all came out and we started throwing these stones. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, wallop! And everything goes black. Wow. I open my eyes, I'm on the ground, look at the sky, I go, how did I get here? That's kind of strange. I get up and all of a sudden I'm dizzy. All my friends looking at me with the biggest face of shock and horror. I'm like, what's wrong with your head? And of course, I had this huge, protruding bump that wasn't there 30 seconds ago. That was getting bigger and bigger and bigger by the moment. So, like all your 8-year-olds, I turned around and I ran home to my mammy. And get into the house. I said, oh, Mom, my head's sore, And she goes, what the heck happened to you? I said, oh, someone hit me with a stone. It was a really big stone. Actually, I feel kind of sleepy. I remember sitting down on the couch and just falling asleep. And coming in and out of consciousness as my mother and father were freaking out. In fact, my dad did what he usually does, ran out the door and chased the guy trying to kick his behind. And I learned that day that sticks and stones can break your bones. You don't want to mess with sticks and stones. But what's so interesting is that all of us perhaps have a story of growing up as a kid in the street and something happened to you, fall off your bike, someone throws something at you, you fall out of a tree. I could bore you with all the times that sticks and stones almost broke my bones. But the most interesting thing is this: we easily, don't we, as we get older, forget the sticks and stones. Yeah. Even me talking about it right now, you're thinking, oh yeah, I remember that. It's so interesting, despite the saying, despite the song, we easily forget sticks and stones, but often we never forget the words that supposedly could never hurt us. Yeah. See, we were told a lie as children. We were told that words have no power. Words are just words. I mean, they just fall off you. And when we came home and people said mean things about us or to us or over us, usually those parents, guardians, siblings, family members, they would say things like, oh, it's just words. I mean, it can't really hurt you. But the truth is, many of us have already forgotten the story of the sticks and stones, but all of us in this room are living. Our lives have been shaped to some degree by the words that were spoken to us, about us, or over us at one point. I mean, words are powerful. They're incredibly powerful. On Friday, I was in a session, a lecture, and there was a psychologist who was giving this lecture, and she was recalling how when she was 5 years old, she was walking to the shop one day with her dad. This guy came out abruptly, looked at her and said, "You are so ugly." Now, what kind of evil man would say to a 5-year-old girl? I don't know. But she talked about, she's a professional psychologist. She said, to this day, I can still remember that moment. Wow. And she said, for years and years and years and years, I carried that word over me. No matter what I did, no matter how much I ate well or trained or, used makeup or whatever you need to do. I mean, no matter how beautiful I actually was or how beautiful Toby told me I was, that word never left me. Wow. It's incredible that someone this lady's now probably in her 50s, late 40s, 50s, how 45 years can go by, but that one single word can remain a part of her life. Words are powerful because they shape us. Some of us, we're living the lives we're living either in response to words that were spoken over us in a positive sense. You can, you will, you're so great. And we believe those words, we ran with them and we succeeded. Or some of us are living with in response to negative words. Maybe we try to prove a parent wrong, or prove a friend wrong, or a brother or sister wrong. Maybe we've lost our confidence here today. We're just kind of drifting through life and our head is bowed low because no matter what people say to us now, the positive words don't seem to be able to help us lift our heads and believe again because we're so captive. We're so shackled, we're so chained by the negative words. Words, we understand, can either give life or give death. Words can bring life or they can cause death. They can cause life or death to relationships, how we speak to each other, about each other. They can speak life or death over our future. Come on. As you think about this year, this decade, are you speaking life over your future? Yes. Are you optimistic? Are you positive? If you're here and you're a Christ follower, are you hopeful that with God's help, with the Holy Spirit, you've got a great future ahead of you? Or is it pessimistic? Is it negative? As you look to the future, do you just see darkness? Words can bring life or death to relationships. They can bring life and death to our future. They can bring life and death to our dreams. They are incredibly powerful. Now, here's a funny fact that maybe you didn't know about words. So if you're here and you're not a Christ follower and you've no interest in hearing what I'm going to say, this one bit of information might be very helpful to you. If you're here and you're a Christ follower, and particularly if you're married, about to get married, this is really, really important for everyone who's married, about to be married, or want to be remarried. The average man, believe it or not, says between 2,000 and 3,000 words a day. The average dude, working man out there in the world, says between 2,000 and 3,000 words a day. The average woman, now hang on a second. I want to just make a statement here. I did not make up these numbers, okay? This was taken from an article that was based on a book called Men Are Pigs.
Okay.
Fortunately, women like pork. That's the full title. Amen.
Oh no.
The average woman says between 10,000 and 20,000 words a day. What's wrong with you? What's going on? I just solved some marriage issue here. I mean, this is crazy. I mean, women say over 5 times more words a day than dudes do. Women speak so much, and if you've been married for more than 5 years, you know, women speak so much, they speak for the husband. You know what I'm saying? Have you been married a while and your wife has a conversation and she's actually answering herself? Maybe you're not there yet in your marriage, it will come. You learn to go, and she's just rattling off words, you know what I'm saying? She's thinking to herself, man, I'm already at 10,000, it's 6 o'clock at night, I got another 10,000 to go, you know what I'm saying? And if you're one of those poor souls, come on, talking to the dudes now, where when you put your head in your pillow and your wife goes, babe, will you talk to you? Be careful. But she might have another 5,000 words to get out of her system before you fall asleep. This is really marriage advice.
Join a connect group.
All the ladies trying to get those words out of the house. Come on, everything. Now, what's really interesting, I don't know who does this research, but research has found that women and men actually say the same amount of words of value, which are between 500 and 700 words. So words of actual substance, men and women say the same amount of words. The difference is women just have a lot of filler. You know what I'm saying? They just take a long time to get to the issue. You know what I'm saying? They want to just spend another, 20,000 minus 700, another 19,300 words to get to the issue. Whereas guys kind of go, okay, if it's not logic, it's not linear, then you're not going to talk about it. What's so funny is that when you think about this, let's just say guys average 3,000, women, let's say 10. That's a lot of words in a day.
Yeah.
That's a lot of stuff that comes out of our mouth. Now, I've just told you that words are powerful. Yeah. That many words coming out of our mouth unchecked can either be causing devastating realities in our lives or have the potential to bring absolute blessing to our lives. Why? Because we all have, don't we, moments, memories, and stories. We go and think about your life, think about key moments in your life, key relationships. We all have moments, memories, and stories where our words, where we blew up everything with our words. Come on, whether it was you with your parent, with a teacher, with a friend that you once had that doesn't talk to you anymore, whether it's with your spouse. Maybe for some of you, it happened on the way to church. You're so busy during the church, you're blowing up. Each other throwing verbal hand grenades. It's a miracle even here. Which, by the way, that's okay, because that's okay. As human beings, we all struggle. And I often tell, I don't care if you get here crawling, get here. There's no judgment in this place. But the reality is we all can identify with the fact that we have had moments, and probably unfortunately will have moments, where we are going to blow up absolutely everything with our words. Why? Because words are either working with us and for us, or words work in spite of us and against us. Words are never neutral. Words are either working with us and on our behalf, or they're working in spite of us, like little rebels, and of course, against. So the question I want to ask with this series, and of course with this message, is how do we make our words count? If we have 3,000, 20,000 words a day, and every one of them has incredible power, how do we make our words count? How do we make our words work for us and with us? To help us answer this question, we're going to turn to a book in the New Testament called the Book of James, okay? James chapter 3. Now, it's really crucial to understand this let me just lay a foundation for James 3. So James is actually the brother of Jesus. Yeah. Which, if you're here and you're not a Christ follower, you're thinking, well, hooray, why should I care? Well, what's so significant is that when you read the gospel accounts of Jesus' life, what you find is that the whole way to Jesus' life and ministry, his brothers did not believe in his claims to be the Messiah. That's right, yeah. Right? They didn't believe you. Let me frame it this way. What would your brother or sister have to do to you to convince you they were the Son of God? What would your sibling have to do to convince you they were literally God on the earth in the flesh? Wow. Well, very few things would change your mind. You grew up with them, right? Yeah. And the same is true for James. And so, history recounts that James was not a believer in his brother Jesus until after the resurrection.
That's right, yeah.
Something happened in the resurrection that so profoundly impacted James's life that he completely flipped from being a total ardent non-believer, skeptic, don't believe it, no, I grew up with you, I remember you picking your nose. I don't know if you did that, but that's just my thought. There's no way you can be something God. So all of a sudden something happens in resurrection, and now not only is he a believer, he becomes a leader in the church and eventually gives up his life for the faith that he believed that Jesus Christ was and is who he said he was. And I believe the key change wasn't something he was taught, but someone he saw. Because the only thing I can think of that will convince me is if I witnessed my brother die a bloody, gruesome, horrible death, with certainty I was there, maybe even helped bring his body back to the ground, help bury him, and all of a sudden, 3 days later, he was alive again.
Yeah, that's powerful.
I mean, that will change you, right? And so James has incredible experience with this resurrected Jesus that changed his life, and so devotes his life to helping other people know his Savior. In the book of James, he's writing a letter, like a modern day email, to a bunch of Christ followers, okay? Because, you know, people are people, right? We have issues, and he's talking particularly to churches like this, and talking about how, you know, we got to be careful that we don't bring our old ways into the church, because God has given us a new hope and a new future, a new life, and one that is full of love and peace and so on and so forth. And we as a church got to be careful that we don't ruin it for ourselves. And he talks about issues like, you know, confidence in God, confidence in ourselves. He talks about we shouldn't show favoritism. Like if one dude comes in here and he's like homeless, and another guy comes in here and he's like Bono, we shouldn't treat people differently. Because all people, no matter how much money they have, what they wear, have value in God's eyes. Which is really crucial, because maybe you're here today, you're thinking, man, you know what, maybe you're not a Christ follower, or maybe you are, and you've been thinking, I don't want to go to church, or maybe I can't go to church because I have so many issues. I mean, it's so strange that people would think that I have to get rid of all my issues, or fix all my issues, and then come to church. As if I have to do all the work and then come here, because only kind of right or godly or perfect people need to come to church. But the reality is, church was, always has been, will always will be full of broken people. The church is for people with issues. In fact, if you don't have issues, maybe you shouldn't be here. In fact, if you don't have an issue, maybe that's your issue. Self-denial. That's for free. And James writes to the church saying, hey, there's all these people, different walks of life stories, some skeptical, some hurt, some broken, some rich, some poor. That the church is for everybody. But in this, we need to keep our eyes on Jesus, and we need to learn some crucial principles to help our community flourish. And in James chapter 3, he talks specifically about taming the tongue. Okay? Now these words are crucial. Taming the tongue. And he used the word taming very specifically. We're going to see why as we look at verse 3 and kick off our scripture today. It says this, verse 3. When we put bits into the mouths of horses to make them obey us, we can turn the whole animal. Or take ships as an example. Although they are so large or driven by strong winds, they are steered by a very small rudder wherever the pilot wants to go. So just pause a second. So what James is doing, trying to build his argument, is he's giving us like metaphors, illustrations, okay? He's giving us visualizations of the principle he wants to communicate. He talks about, for example, the analogy of a horse. A horse, I don't know if you've been around a horse. Horses are majestic animals. And they're amazing and fascinating. And you know, just recently we were on holidays in Portugal, and my wife loves horses, wanted to go horse riding, so we went to this place, and actually my dad was there too. And when you get near a horse, one of the things that surprises you if you're not used to them is how large they are. Like, they're big freaking animals. Like, they're big boys and girls. I mean, it's amazing that they're so gentle and so calm most of the time, because they wanted to hurt you. They could really hurt you. And it's this huge animal, all this muscle, all this power, all this speed. All it takes is a little bit in the mouth of a horse, and the rider can control it. In the same way, he used the analogy of a ship. Think of a massive ship. I mean, obviously, in his day, in James' day, it was, you know, sail ships. But even a huge tanker, like this one, a huge ship. This thing is hundreds of meters long, wide, vast, big. I mean, think about when you've been in a port, you saw a ferry or a tanker. These huge ships. And yet every single ship is controlled by a really small rudder. Someone up in the deck, usually the captain, is just turning a steering wheel. And this little steering wheel is turning this massive vessel in whatever direction he wants to go. James continues. Likewise, he says, the tongue is a small part of the body. The tongue is a small, but it makes great boast. Consider what a great forest fire is set on fire by a small spark. The tongue is also a fire, a world of evil among the parts of the body. It corrupts the whole body. Watch this. And it has the potential to set the whole course of one's life on fire. Our tongue has the power to set the whole course of our entire life on fire, and in itself is set on fire by hell. In other words, if we're not in control of our tongue, it's in control of us, it can cause a lot of damage. Not just like a momentary damage, it might just offend someone. It literally can cause hell to become a reality for you for your whole life. You know, sometimes we wonder why our words are a mess, and genuinely some of us may be victims or circumstances, but oftentimes we may not even create a mess, but we can make it a whole lot more hellish, can't we?
Yeah.
By what comes off our tongue. So again, James used another analogy of fire. We just saw this with Australia. I mean, how many weeks did those fires rage, and how many lives were so tragically lost? And we obviously did a whole thing about that. We prayed for Australia, and thank God it rained. Everybody, come on, and hopefully they're going to stop. But like that, it's amazing. It's such. I mean, pieces of land bigger than our whole country.
That's right, yeah.
We're on fire. Can you imagine the whole island of Ireland on fire? Some of you thinking, that would be a good thing, it's so freaking cold here. I get that. But the devastation that can be caused by one single spark. Our words are powerful, and we got to be careful. Why? Because sometimes when we're in conversation, if they're healthy and they're like a well-vegetated rainforest, we shoot some arrows and it's fine. But sometimes we can come across people and they're just so dry and so broken and so beat up and so desperate that one single thing, one unkind word, one mean-spirited phrase can literally destroy them from the inside out. Our words are powerful.
So good.
In verse 7 it continues, it says, all kinds of animals, birds, reptiles, and sea creatures are being tamed and have been tamed by mankind. Now understand, this was written 2,000 years ago. Even then, human beings were demonstrating their incredible ability to capture and tame wild animals. I mean, how much more now? Think about Nat Geo and Discovery Channel, and if you've ever been to a zoo, like how we as small individual human beings have the power to conquer rhinos and elephants and giraffes and sharks and all these. It's quite incredible. But despite humankind's ability to tame absolutely everything, there's one animal human beings cannot tame, and that is, of course, the tongue. No human being can tame the tongue. It is a restless evil full of deadly poison. You see, our words are like poison. You can see someone, you can get aroused with someone, you can be in a place where things are getting heated up, and you can say something, right? Mean-spirited, evil, hurtful, resentful, intimidating, insulting, and in the moment everything is fine, but you've infected that person with a poison. And over time, that thing gets into their system. Gets into the metaphorical, mental bloodstream. And all of a sudden, it can bring death to that relationship. It can bring death. I mean, you didn't mean it. Very often, we say things we don't mean, right? We think, why am I saying this? But we say them. And once they're out there, and we can't get them back. And just like poison, they may not kill immediately, but they can kill with time. See, words can be like missiles. Like from a distance, you can speak something over someone, even though they're not even present, they can just, bam, hit them where they are, or they can be like landmines. Someone walks around, so they don't see the trap, and they step on something, and all of a sudden, boom, we blow up. Either way, our words are like deadly poison. James used the analogy of a man, saying mankind has done some pretty amazing things, but despite mankind's best efforts, mankind, to this very day, despite all of our science, all of our knowledge, all of our democracy, all that we have going for us right now, we really do have a lot going for us. Still, our biggest enemy in terms of ourselves can be our very own tongue. Now, James kind of shifts gear a bit, and he kind of talks to us as the church. He says in verse 9, with the tongue, he says, we praise our Lord and Father, right? So we did a few minutes ago. But with the same tongue, we curse human beings who've been made in the image of God's likeness. The human beings who are reflective and loved by the God that we're praising. Out of the same mouth come praise and cursing. My brothers and sisters, this should not be. This should not be. Verse 11, he asks, can fresh water and salt water flow from the same spring? My brothers and sisters, can a fig tree bear olives or a grapevine bear figs? Neither can a salt spring produce fresh water. Use the analogy of a spring, saying you can't get salt water from a spring as fresh water. It doesn't make sense. It's wrong. It's working against itself. It's out of context. If you go to a mountain spring and looking for a beautiful, cold, fresh cup of water, and you drink it salty, something's not right with that water. You understand what I'm saying? It just may be stagnant water. It's poisonous, and if you consume it, it can kill you. In the same way, that's what the analogy of fruit. That if you go to a fig tree and it's bearing something other than figs, you probably shouldn't eat it, right? Yeah. I mean, if you go to your apple tree in your garden one day and there's another fruit growing on it, you should be thinking, something's not right here. Because last time I checked, apple trees produce apples and figs produce figs. And even though there's a fruit, in the wrong context, in the wrong place, it can be extremely damaging to our health. So James is building this argument that if we want to tame the tongue, what comes off our tongue isn't just a physical issue. You can't just clamp your tongue. You know what I'm saying? You can't just wear a mouth guard. It's not as simple as that. Why? Because what comes off our tongue is connected to what's in our heart.
Yeah, that's right.
See, we don't praise God with our tongue. We do. If you're here and you're a Christ follower, and every Sunday we have songs. Those songs are for us to acknowledge God. To give thanks, to focus on Him, to take a few moments from our week, take our attention off of ourselves onto God. If you're here, you're not a Christ follower, and you sing those songs because you like them or you think the words are cool or whatever, that's absolutely awesome. But we use it as a form of worship, acknowledging, adoring, praising God. And so that praise isn't a physical act of words, it's an act of the heart. The words have power because they come from our heart. You understand what I'm saying? And so the same is true, not just of worship, but any words. What comes off our tongue is directly correlated, linked to, married to, coming from what's in our heart. If we want to make our words count this year, if we want to bring more words of life and positivity and optimism and hope and life and future and blessing, then we got to deal not with our tongue per se, but with our heart. You don't grab a horse by the nose, use a bit. You don't push a ship at its bow, use a rudder. You don't start a forest fire, in the rain. You start in the dry. Every one of these analogies points to the fact that there's a root issue that causes the whole life direction flow to change. So here's what I want to do. Shifting some gears, I want to make it very practical. I want to talk about the 7 signs of a deadly tongue. So how do you know if your tongue, if your words are bringing life or death? If they're bringing a soothing, healing, ointment, balm kind of effect, or bringing poison? Well, there's 7 things that if we can look at ourselves honestly. Again, if you're not a Christ follower, this applies to you. If you're a Christ follower, this applies to you. This is a human thing. There's 7 things that if we find these evidence in our lives, then we've got a heart issue. With me? The first sign of deadly tongue is slandering. Slandering. How do you know you got a heart problem or a word problem? If you find yourself slandering. What is slander? Slander is talking negatively about someone in a way that destroys their good name or reputation. Okay? We can do this lightly, we can do it jokingly, we can do it in jest. But there's always a moment where when you're talking to someone, you're joking, bantering, where all of a sudden you perceive that what was once a joke now is serious. You ever had that experience before? Yeah. Where we've crossed over into some other place now, and even though everyone's laughing still, the motive, what's the sense of why it's been said has somehow shifted. We may think slander is a harmless thing, but slander can be a very dangerous and damaging thing. Now, the root of slander, of course, is jealousy. The reason why we slander, if we're honest, is because very often we're jealous of people. Yeah. We're not happy that they have what we don't have. We don't like that they've succeeded, perhaps where we failed. We feel angry and we feel an injustice that they have somehow achieved or succeeded or won over a favor of someone that we want to win over a favor for, and so we feel jealous. So that root of jealousy gets in control of our tongue, and all of a sudden, rather than celebrating or acknowledging them, we end up slandering them. Now, the opposite of jealousy is, of course, honor. Yeah. If you want to bring life to your marriage, life to your community, life to your job, life to your business, to your dream, to your whatever you're doing, I want to encourage you, get some honor. Yeah. Don't put honor in your lips, put honor in your heart. But 2 years ago I did a whole series on honor, and I kind of explained to you, the church, that we honor people not because they're honorable, we honor people because we're honoring. Yeah. Honor isn't about them, it's about me. Just about everyone in this world, we can find a way to honor them if we look carefully, intently. You may think your parents aren't worthy of your honor. Wrong. Even if they're not honorable, even if they're not treating you the way they should be, it's because you're honoring that you can find some ways to honor them. You may think your boss is not honorable. But again, wrong. Why? Because there's something in them that you can find if you look intently that is worth honoring, not because they're honorable, because you're honoring. It's because of who I am that I honor, not because of who you are.
Amen.
And then you watch, if we as a people can learn the language of honor. Honor is a powerful thing. Rather than bad talking your boss behind their back with the other staff members, if you can honor them, not put that to their face, even better behind their back, eventually that will open a door for you. If you can rather than speaking to your mates and afraid about how annoying your wife is, honor her with your words. Watch that transforms your marriage.
Yeah.
If you would honor God with your words, watch what God can do.
That's beautiful.
See, if we deal with jealousy and revert to honor, all of a sudden things change. Let me give an example of this in the scripture. Leviticus chapter 19, verse 16, it says this. Do not go about spreading slander among your people. Do not do anything, watch this, that endangers your neighbor's life. I am the Lord. In other words, slander may not endanger a person's physical life, but slander can endanger their reputation.
Yeah.
Slander can endanger their integrity. Slander can endanger their standing in the community. Many people, like myself, take our integrity very seriously and work very hard. It's amazing to me over the years how one person's slander can endanger everything, even if it's not true.
Yeah.
Even if it's not true. So do not slander. Second sign of a deadly tongue is, of course, lying. Lying. I don't know of anything more destructive in a relationship than lies. Because if relationships are held together at their very base by trust, and we revert to lying, and trust is broken, how can that trust be rebuilt? I'm not saying it can't be, it can be, but it takes a long time. You understand what I'm saying? It takes a long time. It takes a moment to lose trust, and there's a long time to get it back, right?
Yeah.
And so lying, if we have lying, even if it's white lies, simple lies, false lies, if we're going to call them, lies are lies. Okay? And you may think, oh, they're just things I say from my head. No, these lies are coming from your heart. And lies can be so destructive. The root, of course, of lying is deceit. The root cause of lying is deceit.
Wow.
We're being deceitful, not being honest, not being open, not being true, not being real. And none of us likes that sense of being deceived. I mean, do you like being deceived?
No.
I mean, when someone deceives you, how do you feel?
Wow.
You feel wronged.
Yeah.
You feel injustice. You feel hurt. You may even feel, going to see, betrayed. Of course, the opposite to deceit is integrity. Integrity means that we're integrated. We're integral. The word means whole, okay? We're one thing. If you look at me from this side and the same person that side, I don't change with context and relationship. Everywhere I go, I'm the same person. Can I help you? If you're a person that struggles with deceiving others and lying, life is so much better with integrity. You don't have to pretend. You don't have to try. You don't have to keep count of what you said the last time you met someone because you might be found out. Because every time you meet someone, it's the same thing. You're whole, you're congruent, you're one, and your life limitations will be a lot less stressed if you can be integral. Again, it isn't just for other people, it's for your well-being. It will go well for you if you can develop a heart of integrity. Pay attention to that tension. It says in Proverbs 12:22, the Lord detests lying lips. The Lord detests. I mean, God is God of love and peace and joy. But one thing He detests is lying lips, because they come from a deceiving heart. But God delights in people who are trustworthy.
Come on. So good.
If you think God delighting in you is a priority in your life, be a person of integrity.
Yeah.
Tell the truth. The third sign of a deadly tongue is, of course, boasting. Boasting. Again, we can boast about our favorite football team or our favorite sports team or where we're from. That's all kind of in jest and joke. That's fine. But when we find ourselves all the time talking about ourselves, when you're in a conversation, someone's telling you about how great they are, and you feel the need to tell them how greater you are, you're saying it's a one-up them all the time. There's something going on here. If you can't celebrate in someone else's victories without mentioning your own, you've probably got a problem with boasting.
Wow.
And again, over time, that will ruin. If people get this feeling that every time they win, they want to share with you, they'll just stop sharing with you.
Yeah.
They'll find some other people who aren't so insecure, who can just celebrate with their win and not have to one-up it. Of course, the root of boasting is pride.
Yeah, right.
And all of us have pride to some degree. We all do. And again, not all pride is wrong. Like pride of place or pride of whatever is not wrong. But a pride that says I am better than everybody else and I am more important than everybody else, that's really unhealthy. More often than not, when I sit with people in a reconciliation sense, meaning the relationship's broken down, they've asked for counseling, usually the biggest issue in the room isn't the actual issue.
Yeah.
It isn't the issue. The biggest issue in the room is actually pride. That one person just cannot come to the place of humility and say, humility, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you're right. I mean, humility isn't walking around quietly and no one sees you and, oh, I'm so humble and I'm the most humble preacher in the world. I just preach behind the TV. You don't see my face, you know what I'm saying? That's just weird, okay? So don't do that. Humility it isn't body language, it's a posture of the heart.
Yeah.
Humility is, it's okay that I'm not the best.
Yeah.
It's okay I'm the number one. It's okay that when you're telling me your great story, I can just celebrate because it's okay.
Yeah.
Humility is being comfortable, not being in first place all the time.
Wow.
Proverbs 11:2 says, when pride comes, then comes disgrace. But with the humble is wisdom. You know, pride always leads us to a place of disgrace. Think about it. I mean, at the root of the argument with that person is pride. And eventually that pride, whether it's an extroverted pride, introverted pride, will lead us to a place of making a decision. And what do we all, when you meet a proud person, a private person, and they fall flat on their face, what do we all have to do? Laugh at them. We invented a word for it. We call it comeuppance. You deserve it. No, there's nothing more satisfying than seeing an arrogant, prideful person fall flat on their face. Give them their own medicine. That's what we like to say. And what's so true is that we see that in other people, but we so often miss it in ourselves that when pride comes, be careful because soon after can come disgrace. The fourth sign of a deadly tongue is, of course, judging. If you're here and you find yourself constantly judging people, there's probably something going on in your heart. The root, of course, is arrogance. When you find yourself judging someone, you can only judge. Think about this. The word judging, judgment, okay, judgmental. Think about a judge. A judge usually in the courtroom have a separate entrance, don't they?
Yeah.
They wear a different set of garments, don't they?
Yeah.
They're distinguished. Usually they're elevated, higher than everybody else in the room, aren't they?
Yeah.
To be a judge, you have to be better than everybody else.
Yeah.
To be a judge, there's a sense of you're different, you're special, you're above, you're greater. You look down at people. You're in this position of being able to choose and make decisions. Why? Because somehow there's some kind of celestial authority given to you, which of course is absolute arrogance. And again, this can be so destructive to our relationships. Why? Because even though the Lord, we're told in Scripture, is a judge, we're told that God judges not with arrogance, but with mercy. And if we want to be people with life-giving tongues, because life is in our heart, then we understand the power of mercy.
Yeah.
That we're not as good as we think we are. And we're not above people. That's the reason why you come to this church. I'm not wearing a suit. I don't walk around with an entourage. I don't make anyone kiss my ring as a sign of respect. You understand what I'm saying? I don't live different. I don't have a backstage exit. I mean, I'm just a dude trying to live life.
Yeah.
Love Jesus.
Yeah.
Transform my heart and soul. Decided to give him my heart and soul for the rest of my life to have other people experience his love.
Come on,
There-
so good.
yes, as I often say, there may be 12 inches of platform that elevate me a bit. That's just because so you can see me. Otherwise, I'd be like this. You're preaching, I'd be looking very small. That's why it's there. The point is, if we can get revelation about how fragile and fickle and how human we are, all of a sudden we can find a place in our heart to show mercy to people.
Yes.
And again, Jesus spoke a lot about this in many parables in the Scriptures. In Luke 6:37, here's one example. He says, do not judge and you will not be judged. Do not condemn and you'll be condemned. Forgive and you will be forgiven. In other words, he's saying if you've received forgiveness, if God has let you off the hook, then who do you think you are to keep someone else on the hook? Hello?
Yeah.
If you've sinned against God himself, which we all have, and Jesus Christ gave his life to set you free, which he has, and you've received that gift for yourself, which you have if you're a Christ follower, then who do we think we are to hold anyone else on the hook?
Yeah.
Paul, later on, the Apostle Paul, would write another way. He'd say, forgive just as
Yeah.
the Lord forgave. So powerful. The fifth sign of deadly tongue is, of course, complaining. Some of you right now are complaining about me talking about complaining. In your head, that is. We are masters, especially we the Irish. I mean, I think we've created an art form. We are so good at complaining. In fact, it's so counterculture for an Irish person to speak positively. So even when we try to say a nice thing, we say it in a complaining way. So you're driving in today, you notice that there wasn't raining, right? Oh yeah, but it's freezing. I mean, the sun's shining, but gee, it's frigid out there. Freezing. Yeah, you're given a gift or something, you go, oh yeah, it was great, but it wasn't the one I wanted. I mean, you go to see a movie, it was like, oh yeah, it was fun, but I didn't really get the first. I mean, we just have this way of trying to compliment stuff in a complaining way. It's just weird. It's just really weird. And of course, the root of complaining is ungratefulness.
Yeah.
You know, because we forget the fact that we live in a country that rains 363 days a year. So I don't care how cold it is. If the sky is blue and I can see the sun, thank God it's a great day. Of course, the man from Leash is extremely happy. Suntan. I mean, it's all about perspective. And if we have a heart that's full of ungratefulness, that will manifest itself in complaining. The opposite is quite obvious. It's, of course, gratitude. It's living with a sense in which everything I have, everything I am, everything is given to me, I didn't make it happen. It's a gift. And again, if you're here and you're a Christ follower, it's a gift from God. If you're here and you're skeptic looking in, it's a gift from someone else. You can't name, it might be God. And but it's a sense in where, you know, only when something is taken away from us we see its true value.
Yeah.
Again, if we're living in relationships and our heart is full of ungratefulness, man, what's going to come off our tongue is complaining and nagging, complaining and nagging. I mean, wives, don't take your husband for granted.
Yeah.
Don't complain him out of the marriage. Get real quiet all of a sudden. I mean, guys, of course, don't give your wives more reason enough to complain.
Yeah.
But you know, there's a proverb that I love. It says, better to live on the corner of your roof than share a house with a complaining wife.
Wow.
I didn't write, just saying. It's not always the wife, I get that. But how much richer can our relations be if we're hearts of gratitude rather than complaining, we're thanking?
Yeah.
Let me flip it. How about the girls a little bit? Don't take for granted if your wife does make you a meal, that she makes you a meal.
Yeah.
Like, it's not her job.
That's right.
Walking bombs in church. There's nowhere in the contract of being human being to say, woman, make dinner. Hello? It's not your right, it's a privilege.
Yeah.
See? If we can live lives full of gratitude, what comes off our tongue is a lot more fun. That's going to help our marriage a lot. Philippians 2:14 says this. It says, do everything without grumbling or arguing, so that you may become blameless and pure, children of God without fault in a warped and crooked generation. Then you will shine among them like stars in the sky. Want to be a star?
Yes.
Want to be famous? Don't complain. Don't argue. You want to stand out and be different? Be positive. Have a heart full of gratitude. Be thankful, and people will notice that. Okay? Second last sign of deadly tongue is, of course, gossip. Gossip. I mean, nothing can destroy a family, a team, a relationship, a church quicker than gossip. Gossip is where we talk about people in a way that is not good, not positive, not uplifting. When they're not there, we spread rumors, we play innuendos, we extract our own, from our own imagination, potential stories, and we think it's all innocent, but gossip, there's no form of gossip that is not destructive. There's not. Because the end of every gossip is a person whose integrity, whose life, situation may hang in the balance. The root of gossip is simply immaturity. I mean, simply immaturity. Simply immaturity. There we go. The root of gossip is simply immaturity. I just get around to people sometimes and just, I go, oh, please. Please. Are we really here still? You know? And I thank God that for the most part, we haven't seen a lot of that in our church, but man, when I get around people who gossip, especially Christ followers gossip, I just think, what the heck are you doing? Seriously. I mean, I understand, we love our church, we love Lighthouse. We will not talk badly about our churches. We won't down talk other pastors. We just don't do that.
Yeah.
Even if they're not honourable, we're honouring.
Yeah.
Amen.
See what I'm saying? We don't do it because it's immature. Okay? At a certain level we may talk about, you know, different approaches to church and different things and so on and so forth. But we're not going to go there because it's immature. The opposite of gossip and maturity is, of course, respect.
Yeah.
Because when you truly respect someone, when you really respect, here's a test to know if you respect someone, you actually can't gossip about them.
Wow. So
If you truly respect someone, you cannot. If you really respect your boss, your mother, your wife, if you respect your pastor, you cannot gossip about them. It just doesn't work. It's like I can't, because I respect them so much, I couldn't let that thought roll off my tongue. Proverbs 11:13 says this. It says, a gossip betrays confidence.
come on. Yeah.
And once you lose that confidence, that trust, the relationship is gone. but a trustworthy person keeps a secret. This is so true. Recently I was talking to someone, and someone else came to the conversation. I said something that I felt. The person didn't say, no one knew, but I felt was like lingering on the verge of gossip. You know what I'm saying? I just felt, man, I think I'm almost gossiping here. So I actually text that person, listen, just so you know, I felt like I was gossiping about you, I'm sorry. So they're going, whoa, what? I'm like, yeah, I respect you way too much to gossip about you. You think our relationship is stronger or weaker because of that text? Stronger, because it built confidence rather than betrayal. If they had found out from a third party that I was gossiping about them, where would we be?
Betrayed.
Absolutely betrayed. The confidence would be broken. The seventh and final sign of deadly tongue is, of course, cursing. Now, I'm not talking about your father Jack, dairy girls kind of cursing. Okay? That's a form of cursing that's probably not very helpful. I'm talking about when you curse someone. I wish you were dead. I wish you were born. You're such a disgrace. You're a failure. You're a disgrace. I hate you. I wish I never met you. You know, whatever. That's cursing. And of course, the root, this is really powerful. If you've ever cursed someone, the root of cursing is downright hatred. When you get to a point where you can actually curse someone, it's because you've crossed over a line of just not tolerating someone anymore to actually hating them. To which the obvious opposite is, of course, love. This is so crucial. Why? This is why God doesn't curse us. Because God doesn't hate us. Listen, God does not hate you. At least one person here is here today. God does not hate you. That's why rather than cursing you, He loves you and He blesses you. And if you're far from Him, if you don't believe Him, He calls you to Himself because of that love.
Wow, so good.
But maybe some of us, maybe that person, has done things to us that are shameful and we can't even speak about. And maybe they've really hurt us in a way that we're still living in the consequence of. Either way, we find ourselves cursing people, it's because we hate them. Jesus said in Matthew 5:21, He said, you heard it said long ago, you should not commit murder. Anyone who murders will be subject to judgment. But I tell you, anyone who's angry with a brother or sister will be subject, in essence, to the same judgment. In other words, murder and anger are closely linked. Anger is something we feel in the heart, but actually in our minds what we're doing is we're murdering that relationship. And that can be quite dangerous. With our tongue, we literally can murder a relationship. And you know it, because you have seen or witnessed, maybe your parents broke up when you were a child. You saw how their words murdered each other. And the words they spoke to each other on their wedding day. I will love you, for better, for worse, rich for poor, till death do us part, was murdered in a moment of verbal skirmish. And maybe the issues, or some of the issues you carry today, are part of the consequence of that murdering. And in your heart, even though you've accepted my parents to split up and you've gotten on with your life, in your heart a death has taken place. And to this day you grieve. Because maybe you as a child were robbed from the strength and solidarity and safety of having two parents who are committed to each other. Our words can be incredibly powerful. It can bring murder to relationships. Again, 7 signs. 7 signs that maybe our heart isn't where it should be. And these things roll off our tongues and they can bring destruction. Why? Because words are powerful. But we understand that if we want to change on our tongue, we got to change in our heart. Jesus said in Luke 6:45, He said, a good person brings good things out of the good store of their hearts. An evil person brings evil things out of the evil store of their heart. For the mouth speaks what the heart is full of. You want to make your words count this year? You want to get in control of that rudder, that spark, that bit. You want to control the direction of your life. You want to somehow get your arms around what comes off your tongue. Then let me ask you a question. What is in your heart? As we close off this first message, we're going to go into response time in just a moment. My question is, what are your words saying to others? Because your words say to others about others. Your words say to others about the weather, about football. But what are your words saying to others about your heart? What are your words saying to others behind the slandering, behind the gossiping, behind the judgmentalism, behind the complaining, behind the anger, behind what are your words saying about your heart? Because there's some good news today. The good news is that if we're willing to allow God to deal with our heart, if we're allowing God access to what's going on in here, if we're allowing God a little bit of space to work with us, if we're allowing God to deal with our jealousy, our deceit, our pride, our arrogance, our ungratefulness, our immaturity, and our hatred, if we're willing today, then God is willing to develop in us honor, integrity, humility,
So good.
mercy,
Yes.
gratitude,
Amen.
respect. And love.
Hallelujah.
Can you imagine what your life could be like, your marriage, your friendships, your employment, your world, if what came off your tongue was honor, a place of integrity, a place of humility, great mercy, a place of gratitude, great respect, and full of love? I think for some of us, this would absolutely change our lives. If we're willing to deal with our heart,
Yeah.
God is willing to develop in our heart these qualities.
That's so good.
This is how we make our words. Amen? Let's just stand, we're going to pray.